On today's show, we learn about the Co-Responder Program, talk to children's book author Erin Petti and Plymouth Town Clerk Kelly McElreath. Visit Booked in Duxbury, hear a message about stress from BID Plymouth, and talk about upcoming things to do in our area. We are glad you're here. Let's get started. We went on the local scene to learn about the Co-Responder Program in our communities.
This was already in existence for many years. It wasn't necessarily embraced as a state, right? So it was like just pockets of the greater Boston area that had this co-response program. But the reason why I think we've become so involved in it and really trying to grow this program to be bigger and bigger and bigger is because we realize the impact it has on folks. And we realize the importance of it. And I always say it this way. If you're dealing with someone who is mentally ill and having hallucinations, right? An officer goes to a training to be an officer to protect the individuals and protect the community, right? They're not trained as clinicians in mental health, right? So if I'm with that officer and they make sure the environment is safe, right, and there's nothing that's going to hurt me or hurt the patient or hurt anyone around them, let me do my job. And my job is I can tell you, is that person a risk to themselves and others? And they might present to you as though they're a risk, but I know that they're not. And so what happens is you're able to say to the folks around and to the officer, like, yeah, they're not well, but they're not at a point that they need to go anywhere. So let's get them some resources. Let's get them the help that they need. They don't need to go to the hospital. They don't need to go to an inpatient facility. So right now, about 70% of cases go to the hospital and 30% stay in the community. The goal is to shift that, right? 70 stay in the community, 30 go to the hospital. The 30 that are going to the hospital, the 30%, are those really sick individuals that that you know for a fact they need to go because they're not safe. Where 70% we can handle. Right? As a community behavioral health center, as a crisis team, we can handle that. We know how to handle individuals that are suffering from mental health and substance abuse. And as you can see from our office area, it's inviting. You don't realize that you're in a community behavioral health center, that you're in the crisis center, because we try to make the environment as comfortable for individuals as possible. We also want to go to your home, right? The co-response clinicians go to the homes, because in a home, you feel like you're in your safe place. And when you're talking to someone and you're in your own home, in your own living room, in your own dining room, like you have that sense of like, okay, this is my environment. Like I have some sense of control over this. Where in a hospital setting, a lot of times, no fault to the hospitals, but they're like dealing with so many different things that sometimes privacy becomes an issue because people are in the hallway and they're talking to a social worker in the hallway about their like trauma. And the person on the other stretcher might hear some of that. And that's not a fault to the hospital. It's just the way that people utilize the emergency rooms right now. So we're really working hard on the co-response being a big piece of it, being out there and really talking about what we do and making sure that people hear it.
I work the day shift and I think I see a lot of kids in, if there's a behavioral issue at school or if they're struggling at school, I'll go to those calls. So a lot of times I think the day shift is more kid-based and the 4 to 12 might be more adults and some more like different situations, struggling with substance use or, suicidal ideation or things like that. So I think it definitely varies depending on the shift, for sure. Typically, the call comes over the radio and they either dispatch us to the call because it's a very clear cut, like either someone's, struggling with safety, like having ideas of hurting themselves or others, or they're in crisis with a mental health issue of some sort, and we're dispatched to that call. Then once I'm there on scene, I'll do a regular, if I was a crisis clinician, I will do a regular evaluation, and I often explain to people, I'm like, I am the same clinician as the clinician you would meet in a hospital. So I'm just doing that evaluation, but at your house, or sometimes in a parking lot, or anywhere really that we find them. And either I can just get them referrals for outpatient services, or the crisis team will follow up with them for a few days after to check in, monitor them, or if they really need treatment, they'll go to the ER with us and wait for a placement in a treatment facility. And the thing that about co-response that works really well, and I think speaks to a lot of people and makes it a better experience, is that we can transport them by cruiser. And that, just giving people the choice, like either you can go in an ambulance or a cruiser, that just makes the experience so much better for them because they feel like they have control over the situation. They can, choose which way to go, if they feel safer in an ambulance, or if they don't want an ambulance and the fire truck and everybody showing up and making a big scene, they can just go in the cruiser with us and nobody has to really know about it. And a lot of people oftentimes opt for the cruiser, so that makes it better. Yeah.
I give huge kudos to Plymouth. I really give a big, Plymouth is near and dear to me. Because I worked in Plymouth for so many years, and I just love this community, even though I'm not from this area. But working here for all these years, I just really appreciate it. So the fact that this town has just embraced this program, the town of Plymouth has been really good to us and great to this co-response program. So I just see it becoming even bigger than what it is. I come up with these really crazy ideas all the time. I don't know if it's the Gemini in me, but I'm always coming up with some crazy ideas. So I started researching last year about different kind of mobile crisis teams out in the country and things that they do. And one of the things that I found is they have what's called a mobile crisis van. And they have this in San Francisco, they have it in Chicago, but the cool part is the stats and the data that comes out of this. In my crazy world of my mind, I said, you know what? I think we can do this. So I did a whole PowerPoint and I presented it to our leadership team and said, how can we get funding to get these mobile crisis vans to work alongside with the police departments? And we got it. And we got one for Plymouth, we got one for Fall River, and we also, I will give credit to the city of New Bedford. They supported us with the funding as well for New Bedford. So the way that I envision this, which I think is like, we still are in the process of finalizing who we're gonna go with to purchase the van. I didn't realize how into vans people were, like van life. It's quite interesting, but what I envision is a mobile crisis van with a clinician, a peer specialist, which is somebody with lived experience, and with a recovery coach. And the goal is that when the police are dispatching out, even if Abby goes out on that call and she's like, oh, this person could really benefit from like a peer specialist recovery coach, right? And we can meet them there. And the van is a private area that they can come in and meet with somebody in the moment, right on site. And there might be times where Abby might be on a call and we're out there, the van's out there. So dispatch can call the van directly and say, hey, the clinician's caught up here, especially here, right? In the summertime, it's really busy. Abby's busy, send the van out. We can meet you there. We can meet the officer there. We can meet the individual there. They can come into the van for an assessment right there, have the supports they need, and never have to walk into the office and no one's gonna know what's happening inside that van because it's gonna be private. So that is my vision. It is very grassroots. I said to myself, I can't believe I did this. I can't believe it's gonna happen, but it's gonna happen and I'm excited about it. And I think that I know for a fact the town of Plymouth is going to embrace this and the police department is definitely going to embrace it. And I'm really excited about it, but I see this happening by the end of this year.
That's great.
Tis the season for food truck fun. The South Shore Food Truck Association returns with Food Truck Thursday on April 18th. Come wheel and meal your way through a plethora of food trucks at the Hilltop Athletic Association in Kingston from 4:30 to 8 p.m. Bring the whole family. There will be something to please every palate, as well as live music you're sure to enjoy very much every week. Hilltop Athletic Association is located at 65 Pottle Street in Kingston. Bookworm is a pop-up mobile bookstore that holds brewery book fairs up and down the South Shore and is celebrating Indie Bookstore Day on Saturday, April 27th with a showcase at Vitamin C Brewing featuring 15 of their favorite local women authors. From 12 to 4 p.m., shop for your next read, meet the writers, get your book signed, and enjoy some delicious brews while browsing. Romance, horror, queer fiction, memoir, fantasy, or historical fiction. Whatever your preferred genre is, you can get your fix at this special Indie Bookstore Day celebration. Come support small, independent press and hometown authors. Attendance is free. Vitamin C Brewing is located at 30 Moore Road in East Weymouth. We went on the local scene to talk to New England author Erin Petti.
Are we ready to write?
Yes, all right, that's good. So since 2022, the last time we talked, it seems like that was yesterday, but it's been a really fast 2 years. I think I just released Thelma B. and Toil and Treble, which is my second book. And since then, I've written the third book, and that's going to be coming out next year, so in 2025. So that's been the big writing project. Also, I was able to complete my 300-hour advanced yoga teacher training at Woodman Wellness Center. My kids are 2 years older. Lots of fun stuff. So Pens and Poses is kind of almost the integration of all the creative work that I've been doing. I have kind of two separate identities that I'm trying to merge into one project because they feed each other so nicely. So in addition to being a children's book author, I've been able to do a lot with creative writing programs locally. Here at Ventress, which you'll see, and then with public schools all around the state, even going to Townsend, Massachusetts, we have a beautiful summer program there too. And that work started kind of inching closer to my yoga and mindfulness work. And then on the other end, I teach a lot of children's yoga classes. So thinking about integrating storytelling and mindfulness, and then also kind of infusing it with improvisational play, because that's kind of an awesome puzzle piece to fit in there. It's been a really cool way to take down the walls between the different kinds of creativity and open up the idea that we're here to be creative. And when the kids leave, if that creativity means painting or jogging or braiding their sister's hair, whatever it is, it's all that same beautiful creative energy. So kind of like opening the doors to different modes of creativity has been a really nice integration process.
What I like about this program is that we get to be creative, and we get to write and talk about what our passion is, and we get to write what we want, and if we're inspired by other people.
She is amazing, and I like about her how she respects everyone and how they make the story and gives us great ideas to add on to them.
In a kind of a perfect world, we would have these tools, these mindfulness tools, available to kids from a really, really young age, beyond what it can offer to the creative process, which is, when kids come to me, typically they want to write books, they want to write stories, and that is so exciting and so possible and such a great goal. And to kind of build the foundation of that, I feel like just moving through the world and having the tools to kind of regulate the nervous system and get grounded when you need to, and then get, pumped up when you need to. And it just really adds a different element to what a kid has in their toolbox. So for me, even in as much as it has to do with paying attention, for one of the first sessions in this particular workshop, it was just, we sat and just kind of were silent for a few minutes and wrote down, what are the things that you smell? What are the things that you hear? Because so much of art is paying close attention. And that's what we're doing in a lot of our mindfulness mindfulness exercises too is just paying attention to what's actually happening right now and using the senses and being fully present instead of allowing the mind to kind of jump ahead, and I'm worried about dinner, and now I'm worried about breakfast tomorrow, and just be here. Because when we're here, we can calm ourselves down, we can be in the moment, and when we're here, we can pay beautiful attention to the world around us and transmute that into artwork. So that it's for everyone, not just people who want to write books, but for people who want to write books. I think that practice can be especially useful.
She helps you if you need help, and she helps you with your story. If you're stuck on a part, she helps you get through it.
She's really nice, is an author, and writes really good books.
It's like watching this incredible transformation over the weeks from just a regular kid with a notebook to an author. And that happens in this room over the course of just a couple of weeks. So when they leave, I think that they feel it's just so much more capable of great things than they might have been before, because they proved it to themselves that they can do it. And my job, in the most foundational way, in the most just basic way, is to be a guide and a hype woman and to hold space. And it's and just giving them that freedom that they're the boss of their own creative work, and I'll guide them along and give them tools, but this is something that they do, and they know that. They know that they did this. And at the end, the level of confidence is really just incredible.
I like that you can be creative and do what you want, and no one can tell you that you can't do that for your story.
That I get a lot of quiet time, and I can write on a piece of paper and not on a computer.
A lot of people comment to me about oh, you seem so enthusiastic. You seem really enthusiastic. And what I need to be very clear about is I just really am psyched. I'm so excited by their ideas. I'm so excited by the kind of natural, generative freedom that children have. And because I want to do more adult workshops, and I've tried a couple of adult workshops, and it's just such a different vibe, because you have to work through so much stuff. There's such a thick shell before you can get to the freedom of creativity inside. And when you're in 4th grade, the shell is pretty thin still. So the ideas and the why not of it all is magical. So I just feel lucky. I feel lucky, I feel excited. And it's not being excited, enthusiastic about their work is not something that I have to try to do. It's just, that's what the work makes me feel like. My hope is that this continues on the trajectory that it's on, because I was kind of talking about the way this piece has grown, where I'm teaching and leading kids through their own creative process, and now integrating more modalities and exploring further. I feel like there's something a little bit unexplored about what we're starting to do, and I think it could help a lot of people, and I think it could be a real way to think about creativity and mindfulness and even behavior management in the classroom. So I'm really excited to learning more, working with more kids, building more materials, and just kind of seeing where this goes, because it feels really, really exciting.
The Plymouth Public Library is welcoming Parents' Choice Award-winning storyteller Motoko on Saturday, April 20th, to enchant with folktales from her native Japan, while providing easy step-by-step instruction and hands-on experience in origami, the ancient art of paper folding. Meeting in the Phalo Room at 2 p.m., Japanese folktales and origami for families is a fun, hands-on craft activity that strengthens skills such as focus and precision while stoking the embers of creativity and imagination. All ages are welcome. However, the activities are best enjoyed by kids aged 5 and up. The program is an hour long and has been made possible through funding from the Plymouth Cultural Council, who are supported by state agency Mass Cultural Council. Although there is endless information available at our fingertips 24/7, sometimes what is needed is simply some basic hands-on help in navigating technology, such as your cell phone or iPad. On Thursday, April 18th from 11 a.m. to noon, the Pembroke Council on Aging is offering a program called Tech Talk with Teens. Pembroke High School students Julia Baxter and Joe Hoban will be available to teach you how to utilize your iPad or iPhone to take photos and videos with family and friends, show you some fun new games to enjoy in your downtime, and answer any other questions you may have. Sign up now for Tech Talk with Teens at the Pembroke Senior Center. Booked in Duxbury is our next stop on the local scene.
I was on the library board, on the Friends of the Library. We started doing author events, and we would do it with West Winds, which was the bookstore before here. And I started working there. That started my love of the bookstore environment. And what girl didn't wish to work in a bookstore or own a bookstore, right? This community really loves having a bookstore, and I'm never going to be a Barnes & Noble. I'm going to be a small little, independent bookstore that buys things for people that I know people like, that orders things for people, and it's really, we're just trying to keep our bookish community going in Duxbury. We call it our literary circle, but I pair with the Duxbury Senior Center and the Duxbury Free Library, and we have author events. They're either at the library or at the Senior Center, mostly the Senior Center. I'm trying to do more debut authors here. I also, talk to the schools about what the reading, and make sure that I have those books here for summer reading. I've had book clubs here where they come and I talk about the books that are coming out or the books that are out now so that they're choosing. So I've had a couple of those events. So I'm just trying to, keep the reading community very current still in Duxbury. I always have my classics that I love. A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, one of my favorite books. I have kids books that were my favorites and just I've loved over time. I think my paperback section, you can see a lot of the books that I've read and loved. And there's so many books in so little time. And, I do what I can. I have people that come in and they definitely want me to suggest their next books. And once I hit it with them, they're like, I'm just going to come to you to help. And that is the difference between me and a Barnes & Noble and me and an Amazon, because I've read the books. I'm not just some person online that's giving a review. It's me in person saying I loved it, and here's why you may like it or may not like it. So I try and be truly honest. I kind of know after these years what this community reads. And so I have a little bit of everything, but not everything. I have books that I know sell over and over again. My children's section, it's all the favorites. It's my favorites from growing up. It's the favorites that people buy again and again and again. And then I always try and bring in a few new books. So that's where my research comes in, just what's come out. So that people will be like, oh, do you have it? And I have it, which is nice. Just seeing the young readers, and then my middle school readers, they come in and they're so excited when a new book comes out, say in a series, or parents will come in and they'll be like, my son really doesn't read. Do you have anything that you think might get his attention? So those are the kind of things that make this really fun. A lot of what I do is I just spend a lot of time researching, what's coming out. I look at Goodreads, I talk to the publishers, I do a lot of different research to understand, and then I read a ton. So a lot of times I've read a lot of the books in here. I'm not a big nonfiction, I'll be honest, but I do read most of the fiction books that I have. So I spend a lot of time. I know whether someone will like it or not. And then I get to know my customers too. It's very vibrant in this area. I have a whole 2 shelves over as you come into the store that are all local authors. People come in probably every week and say, any chance you'd like to take my book? So I get a lot of people coming in and asking if they can have their book here. And for small authors that have never written a book before or it's their first book, they don't really know how to, get out distributed, depending on where they're publishing through. The smaller publishers are really tough for you to get known and distribution. I've been a reader since I was very small and always read. And I still go to the library for half of my books. My husband's like, what is wrong with you? And I said, I can't get every, I can't read every book, and sometimes I want a book that I can't get, and so I just read a lot, and I just didn't realize I had been setting the stage for it with all that I did. But this is the perfect job for me, and I enjoy it. I enjoy every minute of it, and I just love being able to do this for the community.
Are you knee-deep in spring cleaning and don't know where to turn? Looking for a way to let go of some of your once cherished but no longer needed treasures? Been crafting all winter long and ready to release your efforts to the world? The Kingston Council on Aging is sponsoring an indoor community flea and craft market on Saturday, April 27th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Please make sure any secondhand items are clean and in usable condition. Tables are provided for a fee on a first-come, first-served basis. $5 for 4-foot round tables with a maximum of 3 tables, and $10 for 6-foot rectangle tables with a maximum of 2. To reserve, call Kathy at 508-631-7628 by April 24th. Want to make sure your teenager doesn't throw the baby out with the bathwater working their first babysitting gig? Safe Sitter, a nonprofit group dedicated to teaching life and safety skills to youth for when they're babysitting or on their own at home, will be at the Pembroke Public Library on Wednesday, April 17th from 3 p.m. to 4:30 with an introductory course on how to safely care for children. This program is geared toward ages 11 to 14 and will cover child development, child care routines, and behavior management. At the end, all future sitters will receive a completion certificate. The cost is $25, which includes the class and a student booklet. Registration is required and can be done in person at the library. The class meets in the meeting room and is partially funded by the Friends of the Pembroke Library. Here's a word about stress from Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital in Plymouth.
Let's talk about stress. 3 out of 4 Americans say stress is literally making them sick. Hi, I'm Sarah Cloud, a social worker at Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital, Plymouth. April is National Stress Awareness Month. Stress is caused by 4 main issues: money problems, work, major illness, and the death of a loved one. Physically, you may have headaches or indigestion. Mentally, you may find yourself more irritable and snapping at people. Emotionally, you may feel depressed or angry or fearful for no apparent reason. And behaviorally, you may become reliant on caffeine, alcohol, or drugs. Here are 3 tips to de-stress. First, keep a journal. Research shows that just 10 minutes a day spent writing down how you feel can help lower stress, relieve anxiety, and allow you to better cope with depression. Second, exercise. You don't have to spend an hour at the gym. A 15-minute walk around the neighborhood helps. Third, talk to your friends. By opening up about your struggles, you'll get extra support and clarity on the situation. And if you find yourself not able to manage your stress alone, check in with your primary care doctor. Lastly, kindness seems to be something more people are talking about in regards to stress. By being kind to both others and, importantly, to ourselves in the month of April, and ideally every month, we can reduce stress all around.
The rumors you have been hearing are true. It's time for a fantastic celebration of fish at the Plymouth Run Herring Festival on Saturday, April 20th. From 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., the Plymouth Gristmill will be swimming in all kinds of fun activities for the family. There will be alewife art, herring counts, games, live music, local scientists ready to chat about everything fish migration, and so much more. Happy Fish will also be on site, ready to take a selfie with you. This symbolic piece of art was created by World Fish Migration Day to promote the connection between people, organizations, and projects working toward restoring free-flowing rivers and fish populations. This is a free event organized by Manomet, an organization using science and collaboration to improve our coastal ecosystems, flyways, working lands, and seas. The Plymouth Grist Mill is located at 6 Spring Lane in Plymouth. Next up is Julie Thompson with a closer look at Plymouth.
Today we're going to be taking a closer look at the town of Plymouth and specifically the clerk's office, and we're very pleased to have the Plymouth Town Clerk, Kelly McElreath.
Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's a busy time of year for the clerk's office.
It's 2024 is going to be a very busy year.
Yeah. So before we get into all the things you do and you're going to be doing, let's talk about you.
Okay.
Let's talk about how you got to where you are today here in Plymouth.
Here in Plymouth. So when I got out of college, I was a bank manager, and I did that for about 14, 15 years. Really enjoyed it. But I had young kids, and I decided to, I had actually gotten involved in my previous community of Upton on the finance committee because of banking background. And I found out my predecessor was retiring after 30 years, and I'll be honest, I didn't quite know everything that a town clerk did, but I thought that could be interesting. So I took the plunge and I ran for election and I won, and now we are it will be 23 years in May that I was sworn in as a town clerk.
Wow.
So a lot of years.
A lot of years.
Yeah.
And Plymouth is quite a bit different from Upton.
Yes, Upton is a little bit smaller. So about 2 years ago, there was an opportunity here in Plymouth, unfortunately with Pearl's death, was very tragic. But there was an opportunity to come to Plymouth, and my kids are now older, so I took that opportunity to move to Plymouth, Mass. Why not? America's hometown.
Yeah.
And I came here, and here we are.
And here we are.
Here we are.
Okay, so for the people that don't know what the clerk's office does, aside from elections, and we'll get into that a little bit more, you do the annual street listing, which was some towns called the annual census.
Correct.
But you do the annual street listing. Why is that important that people answer that?
That's important because a lot of departments, and when we apply for grants, they need to know what our population is. So we really need to know who's living in town, where they're living, how many are living here. The schools use it to help with their kindergarten involvement and pre-K. And lastly, it helps us keep our voter list up to date. If people move out of town, then we're able to remove them as a voter or make them, quote, inactive, and then keep our voter list as up to date as possible. So that's the major purpose of the annual street listing.
Do you get a good response from that when you send that out?
We do. I made some slight changes over the last couple of years, so it's now a colorful document, so I think people are more willing to look at it and see what it is and sign it. We have a lot of people that email it to us, which works out really well, so it's just a matter of keeping that up to date. And there's like 30,000 of those documents that go out
like
every year.
30,000 households.
Yeah, give or take. Wow. So keeps us busy for the first couple months of the year.
Everything keeps you busy. You also do the boards and committees agendas in minutes that you post.
Correct. So the state has what we refer to as the open meeting law, and it requires any board or committee, such as the select board, if they're going to meet, they need to post an agenda that includes date, time, and place, as well as any agenda items that they anticipate what they're going to be discussing. That needs to be posted 48 hours, business hours in advance.
Okay.
So with the new website that the town of Plymouth introduced about a year ago now, we took that opportunity to bring it all into the clerk's office because that's really, there's just a check and balance to make sure that agendas are posted the way they need to be according to the open meeting law. And many of a lot of the boards and committees, once they have their meetings and they approve their minutes, they then send me the minutes and we post that on the website.
And the other reason, obviously, is during COVID, people had to remotely check into meetings.
Exactly.
So if people want to know how do they remotely participate in an open meeting, it's on the agenda.
Exactly. Yeah. We've been working diligently getting those Zoom links on the agendas so people can just click and even
participate.
Watch.
Easy breezy.
Yep.
You also do licenses and permits for clamming, dog licenses, business certificates, and marriage intentions.
Yes. So
wow. Clamming and marriage intentions.
Yeah, I'll admit the clamming permits, I still haven't figured out why we do that in the clerk's office, but we'll get there eventually. So if we do those on a daily basis. Dog licenses and kennel permits. We have almost, I think we have close to 10,000 dogs in Plymouth.
Wow.
So we issue a lot of tags. We're a little bit behind this year due to the primary, but we're getting there. We'll get those out. the business certificates. So
Yeah.
if there's any business that's like a sole proprietorship, somebody doing business as, a lot of times that's referred to as DBAs.
Yep.
You register the name of the business with us.
Okay.
And lastly, the happy couples that want to get married, they have to come in and get a license. So
Sure.
they fill out the documentation and we issue it 3
Right.
days later. Yeah.
So you do the marriage licenses, you do birth
Certificates.
death certificates.
Yep.
You don't do divorce certificates?
Nope, that's
Okay.
through the
That's done through the courts.
courthouse.
Okay, yep, we found
There's
that
a
out.
saying, I don't want to drag this on, but there's a saying about Clerk's Worlds that we're there when you're hatched, when you have a birth certificate. We're there when you're matched, when you get married. And unfortunately, we're there when you're dispatched.
Dispatched to the next, to the next location on your journey.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay, okay. So let's talk mostly about elections because most people think of elections when they think of the clerk's office.
Yes.
Okay. So this year, how many elections are you going to be overseeing?
Well, we've had 2 so far. We had the referendum on the NIP ban.
Yep.
And then we just had a presidential primary on March 5th.
Right.
So our next one is scheduled for May 18th.
And that's the town.
That's the local election where the select board and the school committee, planning board, redevelopment and housing will be elected.
Okay.
And town meeting members. Can't forget about them.
Right.
And
Are they elected every year, town meeting members?
There's
or
9.
they serve in different.
There's 9 members. There's 9 town meeting members per precinct, and 3 come up for election every 3
year.
years.
Okay, every 3 years. Okay.
Yeah. And the next election will be September 3rd. It's a Tuesday after Labor Day, so the day after that will be the state primary.
Right. And that's who's included now is
the
Go ahead.
state primary is like our state
representatives,
state senator,
senators.
like registrar of deeds, clerk of the courts.
Does the county?
I believe the county's on there as well.
The county's also on there?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, because that's not a town, that's a regional.
Right, exactly. So whoever wants to run on the Republican side and the Democrat side, that's their names will be on the ballot, and whoever wins the primary is the name that appears in November.
On the final ballot. So there could be 2, 3, 4 different people running on the Democratic or the Republican side for either for Senate, for rep, and you have to whittle it down to one person for each party. Or independent or third party.
So the September primary, just if I could say this, could be almost more important than the November. I don't want to say more important, but that election to determine whose name is going to be on the ballot in November, if you have 4 people running on the Democrat side and 2 people running on the Republican side, to take those 6 candidates and whittle it down to 2. Right. And you can call your state rep and you can call your state senator and get some type of feedback from them. Right. Versus everyone thinking, most voters thinking, oh, I got to vote for the president.
Yeah.
So
it's so much more.
The primaries are, especially in Plymouth, because we have some open seats.
We have a lot.
And so I think it's going to be a very active state primary when sometimes it's incumbents are running and then no one's running against them, so they're quiet. I think this will be a quite active
very active
primary.
Yeah. To see this interview in its entirety, please visit the Local Scenes Government Services YouTube page.
Every year, the streets of Seoul, South Korea are saturated with waves of color as lanterns illuminate the night sky. The Lotus Lantern Festival is a 1,300-year-old Buddhist tradition aiming to clear darkness from people's minds and help to create a society of mercy and wisdom. On April 23rd, the Pembroke Public Library invites patrons of all ages to learn about this time-honored celebration in a program presented by the Korean Spirit and Culture Promotional Program. Register to learn how to make a traditional Korean lotus lantern while learning about the origins and importance of this lantern in Korean culture. Members of the Korean Spirit and Culture Promotion Project will lead the program virtually to help attendees make a lovely traditional lotus flower lantern using colored paper and wire frames. And a library staff member will be on hand to assist. Attendees will also be gifted books on Korean history and culture. Registration for this event is required. Visit the Pembroke Public Library's Linktree or call the library at 781-293-6771. The Friends Book Club at the Pembroke Public Library wants you to have your book and eat cake too. On Saturday, April 20th, starting at 10 a.m., the library meeting room will be alive with the scent of a bargain book and tasty treat sale. Held by the Friends Book Club, All proceeds go to funding all those extras the library provides we have come to know and love. Things like discounted museum passes, bestsellers, and items for the Library of Things, and events and programs for all ages. The sale will wrap up at 2 p.m., so get there early for the good stuff. The library is located at 142 Center Street in Pembroke. And that, my friends, wraps what's good and good to know this week on the local scene. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. For more of what's good and good to know on the South Shore of Massachusetts, hit the subscribe button, and thank you for watching.